The main benefit of the Power Apps is cost efficiency, since it's not involved with much code, involved with plenty code and many people to develop the application. Comparing with Power Apps, the time consumption, so the time consuming will be more for other apps, whereas Power Apps will take less time to develop, and licensing also starts at low, and due to low code, no code approach, standard code approach, it is a cost effective application. So since it won't take much time to develop, and also many people involved in the development will also be less, and the time consumption will also be less. That's why this is called as a cost efficiency, as a benefit of Power Apps. And another one is solving business challenges, which means, for example, you have a holiday application for students. Okay, this inputs your holidays and also introduce an approval procedure from Power Automate to approve or reject the request, right? So which means it will be easy for users to get the approval process done very quickly, or even rejection process also. And also it will make the users life easy by solving all the challenges in a simple and easy way, right? That's why this is a solving business challenges also very easy in Power Apps, rather than using any other application development languages. Example is a holiday application itself. Rather than, see, for example, when I said holiday application for students, holiday application in the sense, if they wanted to take a leave permission from the HODs, they don't need to go to the HOD and ask for the leave permissions again and again. They just create one simple flow and or create some simple application to request the leave for that particular day and send that to the HOD, so that the HOD will either approve or reject. It's a simple process, right? Rather than going to the department, talking to the HOD or talking to your respective teacher. It's a big process. So that's why this Power Apps make life easy for everyone, right? Example is a leave application, or you can say leave applications, or even assignment submissions, or assignment notification also. If you haven't completed the assignment on time, if you want someone to remind you, you can create a application, or along with the Power Automate flow, it will send you the notification one day before you need to submit the application. I mean, assignment reminder. So these are all the simple and challenging solutions which you can generate with the Power Apps. And the third one is using Power Apps applications. You can access the application in your mobile, or else you can even access it in the mobile, web pages or web devices, or even the iOS devices, and everywhere you can access the application. There is no coding required to create any of the Power Apps applications. That's why this is also one of the interesting benefit for the Power Apps, which is access in mobile devices or web portals without requirement of any coding. And the third and simple benefit is a integration with Microsoft tools. So this Power Apps can be integrated with any of the Microsoft tools here, which is like for example, if you wanted to generate any email reminder to the user, or send a attachment to the user via email, that can be done using the Power Automate, right? When you create a report using the Power BI, or when you create application in the Power Apps, that can be integrated with the Microsoft SharePoint or Microsoft Outlook, or Microsoft Forms can be integrated with the SharePoint list along with the Power Automate. So these are all different examples where you can integrate with different types of Microsoft tools. For example, SharePoint, SQL Server. You can integrate the Power Apps data with the Power BI as well to generate the reports. Power Apps will be used to create the application, and the data which is retrieved with the Power Apps or the applications, that can be showed as an insight or the analytic visuals using the Power BI visualization tool. That means we are integrating multiple multiple Microsoft tools with the Power Apps itself. And the other one is security, highly secured data when you are using with the Power Apps. This will be based on the role-based security model, which allows permissions, setting permissions based on the employee's role in the particular organization. That's why this is very highly secured application or highly secured data, which cannot be accessible to everyone. Highly secured data or the application which cannot be accessed to everyone, or which can be restricted to certain users. It basically follows the role-based security model. So using the security models, we can say that the Power Apps are highly secured with their application or the data as well. Okay. And the other one is other benefit of the Power Apps is a data connectivity. You have multiple number of connectors to connect from various data sources to Power Apps, which includes cloud services as well, or on-premise services also. So there is a high level of data connectivity, which when you wanted to connect a data from the different data sources to your Power Apps, it has high range of connectivity to connect from various data sources, including cloud and on-premise. So cloud includes SharePoint, Excel, or even Azure SQL database. So these are all comes under the cloud version, cloud tools, cloud services, and on-premises or SQL Server, uh, Oracle database, etc. So you can even connect with the cloud SQL cloud services, or even with the on-premise services. And more effective benefit here is a community and the support. When you are using the Power Apps, you have large community of users where you can use help from them, or you can even get the extensive documentation and the support from Microsoft, which makes a developer easier to find solutions, best practices, and also the assistance when needed. So you have a bigger community and even large number of audiences out there in that community or the users, where you can seek help from them, or even they can provide you with the online assistance also. The Microsoft team can provide you with the online assistance. That is a community and support. A large community of users and extensive documentation and support from Microsoft to find solutions and best practices easily. This is a larger benefit from the Microsoft. Okay, so these are all the benefits from the Power Apps, which is a cost efficiency. We can solve any type of business challenges easily, and we can even access the Power Apps applications in anywhere, in any device. And we can integrate those applications with any of the Microsoft tools easily. We don't need any external external connector, or you don't need even any of the external permissions as well, which makes a developer easy to integrate with any of the Microsoft tools. And security wise, it will provide a high range of security, which can be protected unnecessary data from the users, which means they can restrict only certain users can access certain type of data. For example, you have you you're in the college, or you're studying in the university, for example, and whatever the information the student whatever the student information is there, that student information should be accessible only to that particular teacher. That means your class teacher should be having access to your entire data. The class teacher from the different department should not access your data, right? So that restriction we can provide in the security level, which is used as a role-based security model in the Power Apps. And the data connectivity, we can connect with any type of data sources, irrespective of online or offline, or online or on-premise, or cloud or on-premise data sources. And community and support will also be there anytime when you are stuck in between the development. You can directly go to the community and raise a request if it is not already there in the community. So it will be easy for anyone to solve the solutions there. Yeah, so these are all the different benefits using the Power Apps. And now, what are the building blocks of Power Apps? We have certain building blocks which is used by the developer, or which is used by the user very frequently. Okay, let's see what are those building blocks now. So is it clear till now? These are all just the basics we are learning about the Power Apps. It's not a detail, or it's not a real content which we are going to learn in future classes. It's all about the basics, just basics. think I have some chart here. So what are the building blocks of Power Apps? One is a data sources. So without data source, you cannot create any of the applications, right? So that's why the main building block of Power Apps is a data sources. So data sources or something like where you are creating your data. Or stored your data. So this is called a data source where your data is saved in the place or in the destination. So that is called a data source. Power Apps can connect to variety of data sources, including SharePoint, SQL Server, Microsoft Dataverse, Excel, and many others. So we have seen that as a benefit of Power Apps as well. This is a data source or data connectivity I'm talking about. So using Power Apps, you can connect to n number of data sources. So the common data sources which we frequently use is common data sources or cloud services like SharePoint, Excel, etc. And the main important data source is a Dataverse, which is a large data set or large database managed by the Microsoft. So these are the very frequent data sources we are going to use while creating the applications or while developing the applications. Okay, so to connect to the data sources, we need connectors, right? To get the data from the data source, we need some connectors. So that is another building block of the Power Apps. Connectors. Connectors are nothing but I mentioned in the initial classes also. It's like a path from one place to another place. So to cross a river or to cross uh, a water flowing area, you need some bridge, right? So that is nothing but a connector. Bridge is nothing but a connector here to travel from one source to another, one source to the destination. So data source is your source and the target is your Power Apps. Using the connectors, you are connecting the source to the destination or the target, which is a Power Apps. That is called connectors. Connectors enable Power Apps to communicate data in the data sources. So this is called a connectors. We have multiple types of connectors to connect to the data sources like Dynamics 365 is one of the data source, or Office 365 also there, and also so many custom connectors like SharePoint, Salesforce, SQL Server. So these are all different types of connectors available to connect to the data sources. And the other building block is controls. We are going to work more about controls itself, because controls are the UI elements which are there to create an interface of your application. So without this controls, you cannot develop any of the applications. To enter the user name also needs a control, one of the controls that is called a input control. So controls are nothing but the UI elements that you use to build the interface of the application. For example, to enter the username or to log into the application, like for example, you have created one application for your to track your expenses. you have provided username and password to sign in there. Even to click on the sign in also, you need a UI element which comes under the controls, that is called a button. So if you have observed, when you are logging into the Google Drive or Gmail account, there will be a sign in button or login button, right? Those are called buttons. Buttons are one of the controls which you are going to use in development of the application. So that is one example. Another example is when you are providing the username and the password to log in. Those are called text inputs. Text inputs to log in, right? You are going to give the input as your username and the password. So those are called text inputs. That is also one of the UI elements, or that is also one of the controls in Power Apps. And the other example is a forms. Using your Canvas application, if you want to create a sample form, so to that also you need a controls itself. So all the active actions, whichever you're going to perform in the while developing the application, those are all under the controls itself. So controls is the major building block of the Power Apps. For example, input control, buttons, forms, etc. The next one is screens. Screens are nothing but a pages in Power Apps. For example, you are using Power Automate, Microsoft Power presentation, PowerPoint presentation. So when you want to create some presentation, you will create a slides, right? Each slide will be showing some content. The same way, Power Apps will be having screens. We call those slides as a screens in Power Apps. The terminology changes here, but the use case is same. In PowerPoint, we call it as a slide, but in Power Apps, we call it as a screen. So each screen will be having some content. Consider the same expense tracking application. You can create a login page in one screen. And when you log into the application, the next screen or the next page will be showing up the details of your expenses until today. Whatever the expenses you have spent on, those will be displayed in the another screen, the details of your expenses. That can be considered as a screen in Power Apps. You call it as a page. In the next page, this content will be there, and in the next page, this content will be there. And if you want to add an expense into that application, you will click on the add page, right? Add link there. So that will be opened in the another screen. So whatever the pages you are going to create in Power Apps, that will be called as a screens. Okay, so consider screens as a individual pages of your application. Screens are nothing but individual pages of your application. So each screen can contain different types of controls. So controls here are again nothing but a UI elements which you are going to use in that application. So every screen doesn't need to have the same controls. One screen can have user inputs, and another screen can have forms, and another screen can have a table format, like just table view of the data. So in that way, each screen can contain different types of controls, right? So for example, you have home screen, detail screen, or add screen, etc. So these are all different types of screens we can create while developing the application. And the next building block is functions. Whatever the application you create, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to use minimal code, minimal functions, something like a filter function or aggregation function. So these are all simple functions which we are going to use. So function is nothing but a formula that defines the logic. Sorry. So function is nothing but a formula which defines your logic. For example, if you want to check whether the user logged in is a male or female, you can create some formula there, right? Using some condition, if condition. If the gender of that column is equals to M, then the user is a male. If the gender of that column is equals to female, then the logged in user is a female. So that way we can create some formulas which defines the logic of that particular condition, and that will change the behavior of your application. Define the logic and shows the behavior of your application. For example, we have if conditions, then aggregations, also lookup, filter, etc. So these are all different types of functions we are going to use with minimal code. Okay, so these are all the different types of building blocks which are regularly used while developing any application in the Power Apps. Okay, to summarize all this, Power Apps is a very powerful platform for creating custom business applications very quickly and efficiently, because we are using very minimal code, and also minimum time of consumption will be very less. That's why it's a quick and efficient way of developing the applications. So by understanding the types of Power Apps and the building blocks, you can leverage the full potential of Power Apps to meet your specific business needs, which means you can easily create any type of business need or business requirement using the Power Apps capability and the building blocks of the Power Apps. Okay, so these are all the building blocks and the benefits which we are going to experience when we start developing any application, right? Is it clear? Any questions till now? No? Okay, fine. So we need to start with our development as early as possible. So for that, you need to have the user IDs. So user ID